Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, welcome you all to this session. Today's topic is how can I be a good Muslim? And with our guest speaker tonight or this afternoon, we discussed, and this is very challenging times for many Muslims today. And we struggle in many ways. How, why me? What is important to us? How can I do this right? What am I doing wrong? So many questions today because it is tough. It was never easy to be a Muslim, but it is also very tough to be a good Muslim today. It's a very challenging times for adults, kids, for family, for a country, things like that. First of all, this session is being recorded. I want to remind you that this recording will be also shared in social media. I want to make sure that you understand if you do not want excuse me, someone has a background noise. Can you kindly stop it? We can hear you. Thank you very much. We want to let me give you some housekeeping for today. First, this session, like I said, is being recorded. If you do not want your face on the video on this session, you have a choice to click on stop video. That will help us a lot. And if you do not mind your face to be shown on this video, then you're welcome to keep it open or closed. It's up to you. My request, when the guest is in session and speaking, kindly mute your microphone button. And also, please minimize any background noises so that all of us can hear our guest speaker for tonight clearly. There is a chat session on, I'm not sure, either on the top or the bottom, you will see a sign for chat. So once you see the sign for chat, you can put your questions there if you have any questions or comments. The talk is going to be about 30 to 40 minutes talk, and then we'll go to Q&A. Q&A session will have, you can post your question on the chat session, or you can raise your hand when we unmute everyone. When we unmute everyone, you can raise your hand, and then from there, you can ask your question, and our guest speaker will take questions tonight. After that, we'll stop the recording. Once the recording stops, you still can hang out and talk on one-on-one with our guest. Everybody will be unmuted. It's just like a hangout or whatever you call that. If you do not like something that the guest speaker said or you have a question, let us not get into debates because this is not a debate session. But if you have disagreements or you have doubts, please feel free to put it in the chat session or in the raise hand session. And you're welcome to say however you feel about certain things. But let's not get into debates on it because this will cost a lot of time. And maybe we can arrange another time for debates and things like that. That said, once again, I just want to repeat that this session is being recorded. If you do not want your face to be shown on the video, then kindly press stop video so that you still can listen to it, but your face will not show on this session. Few things about the Quran. You know that there are 114 surahs. This little book, I can tell you, many of us in the world today who are Muslim, some of us never read this book entirely. And we have read so many books in our life, but this book, we never took the time to read it again and again and again. Some of you did, many, they're experts, but I'm saying many of us. just a few statistics about the Quran. One thing the prophets mentioned in Quran, his number is 25. Shortest surah is surah number 108, longest surah number 2, Al-Baqarah. By the way, there are people who do memorize the whole Quran. I do not know how they do it. I have tried and I cannot remember it, but I am trying, inshallah. One thing you'll see at the bottom of this slide, it says above, below, left, right, front, and behind. And I want to bring the topic about census. So actually, if you look and you read Quran carefully, there are so many answers that we can find. We just have to think. Here, I just put one topic, which is from Quran, you can find what is above you, below you, what is to the left of you, what is to the right of you, what is in front of you, and what is right behind you. And when someone reads Quran carefully, they should be able to get many of these questions answered. And this book is amazingly great. So far, when I hear the scholars, they say it's very not yet a questionable or something is not proven yet. 20% maybe not proven yet because science is not there yet. So with that, let's go to our next slide. Today, our session is going to be done by Dr. Moazzem Hossain. He's a medical graduate from Dhaka Medical College, and he studied in several universities across Europe, America, Australia, and Africa. In addition to his current job in an UN organization, he also teaches at Columbia University at New York and lectures in few other reputed universities. His religious education comes from his extensive traveling across the world and meeting wide range of scholars in addition to his own study of Quran and Hadith. And he engaged in very modest form of dawah work. He prefers to be a practicing Muslim every aspect of life and would like to share his experience more than the theoretical discussion. Now, one thing you will notice that it says practicing Muslim. It is not easy today, and it was never easy when it started to be a good and practicing Muslim. And I think we'll hear from our guest speaker on this for tonight. Few things you can expect to hear from this topic, from this session. One would be purpose of life, fundamentals of Islam, qualities of the companions of our prophets, and tips to be a practicing Muslim in today's world. With that, let us welcome our guest speaker for today, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. Dr. Moazzem Hossain, I humbly request you to start our session for tonight.
Thank you very much, Sohail. Thanks everybody for joining. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. ونحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري أحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العظيم. I thank you very much for inviting, and I can't say how happy, delighted, honored, and blessed I feel today. Because being a cadet, to talk about on being a good Muslim or about Islam, I think this is the first ever in a cadet college forum that I'm talking. Although for last 30 years almost, I have been involved in work of Dawat, I have been traveling the world, I have been addressing and I have been being addressed in many occasions about Islam. But always there was a pain in my heart. That why, as being cadet, we don't have good examples of religious scholars or religious leaders. Whenever I go to anywhere, when I want to look at a successful man or woman in this world, you will all see the cadets, whether it's a chief executive of an organization, whether it's an outstanding, brilliant military officer, or outstanding, talented, innovative with so many patents, and wonderful, outstanding professor, or finishing his PhD in 2 years instead of 4 years. So all these extraordinary, brilliant, charismatic achievements, you will see in every spectrum of life, one of the cadets, from any of the cadet college, they are there. And that's where I think our original teaching in cadet college was that we have been made to be the leaders of the nation. I know there are many non-ex-cadets also in today's forum, but I'm just, since this main forum is addressing the other cadets. So my main storyline starts that I have seen cadets in every aspect or spectrum of life where they have been successful and they stand out. They stand different than many others. Unfortunately, when I go to the masjid, when I join prayers, when I listen to religious speeches, scholars talking about Islam, that's where I find cadets also completely out in a sense that I don't find in the leading position, rather either in the back bench or in a confusing bench where we have more confusion than we have understanding. We have more debate than we have agreement. And we sometimes don't agree to disagree even. I mean, we go to that level when you get charged and emotional in discussion. So today's basic point that I wanted to raise is, as a cadet, what actually helped me in understanding Quran, what helped me in trying to find out the truth. Of course, I believe as a Muslim, we all have found the truth, as Allah has kept the light of the nur of Hidayat is in Islam, and we all are born Muslim, and we are lucky. And I will not have time today to discuss of all my experiences, but just as of yesterday, there were 4 guests in my house. All of them are from China, and 2 of them are newly converted Muslim, and they brought 2 other Chinese because they want to know about Islam, but they are new Muslim and they don't know what to tell, how to tell. So they brought to us in a meeting, and then I said, come to our house, and they came at 5 p.m. And at 11:30, I had to tell them to go because curfew starts at 12, otherwise they would like to continue. So this is, I'm just giving an example of how if a cadet wants to be a da'i, if a cadet wants to be a obedient soldier of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how he can be, because he has been built with all the qualities. But the problem is we don't have time. And we don't have time to read Quran, to understand Quran and practice Quran. Today, I will also try to explain that why you shouldn't expect too much from me, because there is a difference between an engineer and a mechanic. An engineer is who makes a car. He knows how to design a car, and he produces a car in a car factory or manufacturing company. That's the mechanical engineer. But when a car has got a problem in the road, either the air has gone out of the tire, it's a flat tire, or the engine is not working. So you do not call an engineer there, because engineer knows how to make a car. His knowledge is too big to work on a small dysfunctioning of a small parts of the machine. So you bring a mechanic to fix the car on the road, and maybe it's a $1 million car, but it needs $1 of air in the flat tire. And that $1 of air is making the $1 million car non-functioning, and you need only a mechanic to come and repair your tire and get it moved. So I always give my example that I'm a mechanic. I know on the way to live your life as a father, as a doctor, as a worker in the hospital, as a teacher, as a student, as any trader, how to live a life as a Muslim. That's what I can tell you on a practical ground, but I cannot tell you all the theory and all the philosophy and all the analysis in the Quran, because that's where you need an engineer. And in this case, it will be a scholar who should be a mufassirin, expert in Quran, or mufassir in tafsir, or mufti who knows the fiqh, or it should be a muhaddis who is expert in hadith. And I am none of them and not even close to that. And that's why I'm grateful to Shohel for giving that disclaimer in the beginning that we're not going to have an argument and debate on references. I'm trying to explain to you how I read Quran, how I understood Quran, how I understood that Allah helped me to practice Islam in my day-to-day life. If that encourages you, if that seems to be easy to you, if that inspires you, alhamdulillah, you do it. And if it is in line with the Quran and Hadith that you understand, because in the day of judgment, you have to be accountable for what you have done and what you are doing. So in this case, no argument and debate. You don't accept my references, you don't accept my practice and logic, alhamdulillah, you have your own, and you deal with Allah. Because at the end of the day, each of us, we will deal with Allah after we die and in the day of judgment. And this world is all test for us. Whether you are a doctor, whether you are rich, poor, you are in US, UK, or in Bangladesh, irrespective of us, each of us are going through a test. And how to pass the test? So as we solve the past papers, to get an idea what sort of question might come and how do we solve it. So this is a past paper consultation session sort of thing. Although the advantage is Allah has said all the questions before, and what will be asked in the grave, what will be in the day of judgment, everything is out. Syllabus is there. Only we need to practice those syllabus by our action in life. So I will come with the first slide that I wanted to say that let's conceptualize Islam. What is Islam means to us? If we go by the word, Islam has got two different meanings or two different interpretations people do. One is salam, which means peace. So Islam is a religion of peace. And the other one comes from istislam, the Arabic word that tells submission, surrender. So when you come istislam, then you talk about Muslim, means somebody, he who surrenders. And if you Islam, you take the root of the Arabic word is salam, peace. So it's a peaceful religion. But as a follower of this religion, you have to submit yourself. And submit yourself to whom? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in order to understand the Islam, as Allah says that this is a complete code of life about Quran, and in the day of in the Yawm al-Arafah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his final speech, he said, Allah has completed the deen for you, and this is a complete code of life. So if this is a complete deen, then what is this deen? So according to, I'm giving you two different pictures. This is an analogy. It's not from Quran and Hadith. This is, I have picked it up from different scholars' analysis, but the two analyses that I like, you might have 10 different other analyses, that's up to you. So both the analyses you will see on upper level, they are dividing into three different categories. One is aqidah, the belief that we have on Allah, and different forms of belief. And I will explain what different forms comes in our life. The other one is Sharia. Belief is in your heart, you don't see. Iman bil ghaib. You believe in things that you don't see. But Sharia is something visible, it's to visualize. Like if you believe in Allah, Allah says in the Quran, he who does not follow me does not believe me, which means if you believe in Allah, then prove it by doing what Allah has said. So if you say, I believe in Allah, but you don't have time to say prayer, but you say, no, I still believe Allah. You believe in Allah, but you have money, but you don't want to go for Hajj because you don't think this is important, na'uzubillah. But you say, no, I believe in Allah. Allah is saying, no, don't tell that you believe me, but you don't do the things. Which means if you believe me, then do things what I have said you. So there are some rituals, there are something that you see visibly, and those things under one banner called Sharia, it means there are rules and regulations, standardized and norms for practicing activities to demonstrate that you believe in Allah and you follow. But this Sharia, this has got two different parts. One is ibadah, that is you dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Allah has said, like saying salat. In the night when you pray tahajjud, there is nobody else other than you and Allah. Even your normal salah, nobody else in the world get benefit. You get benefit, but you are pleasing Allah. But there are few activities which is a dealing between you and the other creation of Allah. And there, Allah is making a clear demarcation that what is between you and me, I can forgive you things if you have gone out of the way and if you have offended me, if you have been absolutely disobedient, but one day you make a istighfar and you come back, I forgive you. But there are few things that you do with other creation of me and to please me, but you do it with others, that I'm not going to forgive you until you get forgiven by the person with whom you have offended or done the wrong. So which means this is called mu'amalah. This is you're dealing with people day-to-day, man-to-man activities. And this has got much bigger chapter, this mu'amalah, where it goes into three different branches. One is political, one is economical, and one is social. And there I wanted to come that often we say, oh, Islam is a peaceful religion, it's a private religion, you keep it within yourself, don't bring others, don't come and don't talk others. This is totally wrong. If you don't want to do politics, you don't want to do into social activities, you don't want to get into economic activities, that's your thing. You have a choice of doing or not doing. But don't tell Islam do not have, because it can't be that Allah is telling Quran a complete code of life and Allah left some chapter for you to decide. No, that's a wrong understanding and wrong thinking at all. it can't be that Allah did everything but kept the administration and the ruling and the ministry for somebody else. No. So what Allah is telling that is this complete code of life and the 23 years life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has demonstrated the life of different stages, starting from a father, from a husband, from a father, from a brother, from a colleague, from a normal worker, from being a shepherd, from a trader, being a minister, running the state, going into the war and having a peace treaty, being the most respected person on the earth, being the most humiliated and tormented and tortured by the non-believers. He has gone everything phase of life that we can take an example whenever we need. But at the end of the day, he lived a life of a very simple man, of a very poorest of the poor in that time. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the option that if you want, one mountain I can make of the gold and one mountain I can make of the silver, and they will be walking with you like your purse. You take from them and you spend. This much richness if you want, Allah said, I can give you. And Allah offered that. Angels came and wanted to do that. Rasulullah said, no, I don't want that. I want to be so normal and simple that I remain hungry in one meal and I beg to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala food and I get my meal next time and I be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he wanted. And according to the ulama ikram, scholars of Islam, they say, why? So that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived his life at the bottom of the poverty, so that no people on the day of Qiyamah can come and tell, oh, the Prophet was middle class, the Prophet was rich, or he had a house, he had a car, he had a bungalow, he had this and that, and that's why he could do Islam. We can't do it because we don't have this and that and that. We have to mute the microphones, please. So in bottom line, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had the opportunity to get the wealthiest man in the world, and he has kept in the provision that as a Muslim, if you be a wealthy man, there is no harm, there's nothing to feel guilty. You have the permission, But as his own life standard, he left at the bottom of the poverty so that even the poorest of the poor in this world, he can follow the perfect life of a sunnah by following the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam example. But at some time, he has taken good clothes. Sometimes he has worn very nice horses. Sometimes he has also gone to nice houses, and he had good food to give an option to rich people that they don't need to feel guilty. You can. But bottom line is be simple, be poor, and be a normal live life. So I will not go into the political, economic, and social. I think we can have series of lectures, but each of this part of Islam, and this is a complete part of Islam, and Islam has a complete code of politics, economic activity, social activity, and muamalat and muasharat and everything. And the last part, which is very rarely tasked and is the most difficult to achieve. So when Sohail was telling it's very difficult to be a practicing Muslim, I don't think so. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. There is a prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma yassir wa la tuassir. Allah, make it easy for me. So when Allah make it easy, and those who have gone for Hajj, you will see when you make the ihram, the first intention you do, Allah, accept my Hajj and make it easy for me. When you do tawaf, you say, oh Allah, accept my tawaf and make it easy for me. When you go to Safa Marwa Sa'i, you said, oh Allah, accept it for me and make it easy for me. When you go to Arafah, you said, oh Allah, accept my attendance today and make it easy for me. Which means each and every steps of Islam is pretty difficult if Allah doesn't help you. But if Allah make it easy for you, it's more easy than the water. So it's important that normal Islamic practicing life is not that very difficult. But what is very difficult, to my understanding still, is the last one, is the akhlaq, the moralities and ethics. I have some friends who tells me that if you give me 100,000, I am pretty sure I'm not going to touch it. If you give me 10 million, I'm not sure what I'm going to decide. Which means all of us, we are good Muslim because we have not yet been tested. When we are tested, we don't know whether we will pass the test or not. If you go to a school headmaster and he says, I'm very honest, I don't take bribe, who is going to give you bribe? If you're a police officer who can get money every minute, 100,000 rupees, you can get cash as bribe, but you don't take it. That's one is a credit. Then when you say, yes, I have been able to withstand me and have the patience and not get tempted to do a bribe. So that's what is akhlaq, is the morality, is the ethics. That's one of the highest of standards in Islam. So I'm not going there. I will come back to the basic, that let's talk about ibadah and muamalat. Very simple ibadah and very simple day-to-day life activity. And that I will try to contain today's discussion. And if time permits, if you guys are interested, inshallah, we will have series once in a month. We can get into different topics. So I will, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, I will start with the first surah of Quran. And you need to know that according to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, this is the Ummul Dua, means this is the mother of all prayers. Now, why we are saying that this is a prayer? Because this is a surah, this is the first chapter. But in the chapter, you will see, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise to Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. This is a praise of Allah. Then you say, Rahmanir Rahim, He is the most merciful and especially merciful for dunya, Rahmanul Dunya wa Rahimul Akhirah. Malik Yawmiddin, we are giving the witness that He is the sovereignty of the day of judgment. Iyakana, this is also witness. Iyakana abudu wa iyakana nasta'in. Oh Allah, we worship you and we ask help from you. This is begging sake and help from Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. Until this, up to 5 verses, there is nothing dua. The first dua is Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Oh Allah, show us the straight path. So this is the ayah for which this whole surah is called the Dua, and this is the dua Allah so much like that in every rakat of namaz, every rakat you have to recite this surah must, and then you recite any other ayah. Now, what is this ayah? What is this Sirat al-Mustaqim? We all say, Wallah show us the Shahad Sharil Shatik Path Amadan Dakan. What is the Shahad Sharil Shatik Rasta? What is the Sirat al-Mustaqim? And not only Sirat al-Mustaqim, in the next verse we are saying, Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. Wallah, show us the way of those on whom you have bestowed favor, on whom you have been happy, who have been successful, who have been pleased you. Now these 2 verses, I want to be very clear to you. There is a lot of argument, even in Cadet College Forum. They only want to follow Quran and nothing else but Quran. Don't want to listen to Hadith, don't want to listen to Sahaba, don't want to listen to anything else. My experience or my point to them would be, if you think that only Quran and nothing else you follow, then who is Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim and who is Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim? Allah could stop in Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Khalas. Only you have to be on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So let me explain both of these in other verses in the Quran, how this is being unfolded. In Surah Yasin, if you remember the first few verses of Surah Yasin, it says, Yasin wal Qur'an wal Hakim innaka laminal mursalin ala siratim mustaqim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah is saying, a hikmat wala Quran qasam ke bolte si. I swear in the name of the Quran which is full of wisdom. Hakim means hikmat. Hikmat means wisdom. Hikmat wala Quran qasam ke bolte si. So Allah bolte wal Quran wal Hakim innaka laminal mursalin. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ki uddeshya kore, addressing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah is telling, innaka, you are lamil al-mursalin, you are the person, Sirat al-Mustaqim, you are the person who is on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Which means, if you want to find Sirat al-Mustaqim, don't run and look for anything else onto this earth. Sirat al-Mustaqim, and Allah is saying not only Sirat al-Mustaqim, Allah Sirat al-Mustaqim means you are the Sirat al-Mustaqim. There is no other Sirat al-Mustaqim. There is no other person that you follow and you can give the guarantee that you are on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, except and only the path shown by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here Allah is making very clear and Sirat al-Mustaqim. Now let me tell about what is meant by Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim, and among those on which you have bestowed the favor. That one I would like to go to the other verses of Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u rasula wa ulil amri minkum fa in tanaza'tum fi shay'in farudduhu ila Allahi والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. Allah is telling, oh you who believe, if you are a believer, then obey Allah and obey the messenger. This is up to in the previous word I have established. Now Allah is saying, and those in authority among you. Now who are the authority among you? According to the scholars and the Mufassir in Quran, they are saying these are the knowledgeable, educated people in your society. They are the authority because they have the authority of the knowledge. And if it is a Muslim ruler, it also means about the Muslim ruler. who has the authority of the knowledge of Islam and also power to administer and exercise his authority about him. And then I give you the verse, another from Surah Bayyinah, where Allah is telling, جزاؤهم عند ربي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه. Look at this word. Allah is praising those people. Those, their reward is the gardens of eternal living in the presence of his Lord, their Lord, with streams flowing under them. This is about Jannah. They will be in there forever. Allah is pleased with them, and they are pleased by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this radiyallahu anhum, if you know that about the Sahaba Ikram radiyallahu anhum, we always tell their name. Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhum, Umar radiyallahu anhum, Usman radiyallahu anhum, Usman radiyallahu anhum. Always we say radiyallahu anhum means this is a glad tidings given to them after the battle of Badr. Allah revealed in the Quran and say that I have been happy with them and they have made me happy. Now this radiyallahu anhum, this glad tidings is given to them. They are the Sahaba, they are not Prophet. So which means if I combine these two verses, in one place Allah is telling, if you want to follow me, follow the messenger and follow those in the authority among you, which means those who have been knowledgeable in your, and according to hadith of Rasulullah, he said that if you follow me or any of the Khulafa Rashida, Khulafa Rashida means those who are the righteous caliph. In some references it is Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman and Ali, 4. In some references it's 5. The first 6 months of Hassan radiallahu anhu is also considered as Khulafa Rashida, the 30 years. So these were the Khulafa Rashida. If you follow any of them, you will also get the destination to reach Allah, because each of them has fulfilled the haqq the way Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has shown them. So I don't want to elaborate much more. I just speak a bit longer on this, because in the Cadet College forum and in many other forums, I see a new generation evolving. Those who want to only follow Quran, even when I say about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about hadith, may Allah accept them, may Allah give them hidayat and give us the understanding. The first thing that, oh, Prophet is not alive, he's dead, how do we follow? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's not a good logic. Because here Allah is telling, follow me and follow my Prophet. And not only Prophet, he is going to Khulafa Rashida, he is going to the companions of the Prophet who has followed him to that extent that Allah had been happy on them and Allah has revealed on the Quran. And that's why I know Quran is a book for everybody, but when you read Quran, read yourself, but take the guidance of people who have spent years and years and decades on understanding Quran. And the last thing I will say here, a good example that why you need guidance to understand Quran, although Allah has made it easy and simple for us, that's true. But when these verses was revealed, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, إِذَا ذَا نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. When these verses were being revealing, then Abu Bakr, Umar and Usman, they were sitting next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Umar, Usman and Ali, they were very happy because here Allah is telling that Muslims will get the conquer, they will get the fatah and they will be winning, they will get the victory, will touch their feet and people will come and enter into Islam in thousands and in rows. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu was crying and was very sad in one end. Everybody said, oh Abu Bakr, why are you so sad? Because it's such a good news Allah is giving. He said, don't you understand that Allah is giving a message that the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to be finished. Very soon he will leave us, he will go to Allah because his purpose of coming this world is being done. So you see the literal meaning of the verses was correct, understood by everybody, they were the Arabs. But the spiritual and the deep-rooted understanding and the foresightness, that was much deep-rooted for Abu Bakr, who had spent more time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, more older and more wise, had different understanding in the long-term consequence of the verses. This is what the ulama ikram says, that read the Quran, you must read it yourself, you must understand, and you must try to follow. But in order to get the interpretation and explanation and get the wider explanation, try to get the help and support of a scholar. But not that everything that a scholar says you believe. You have to do your own checking, own testing, and you have to believe in your way that in the day of judgment you can give explanation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your own understanding. So with that is the basic conceptualization of Islam and how do we take Quran references, how do we follow, whom we are going to follow. Now I'll come to how we are going to follow. Now this is the most, I think, of the time that I have started practicing Islam, the most popular or most well-spoken or most frequently referred hadith in the Bukhari is that in Arabic it says, Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam بني الإسلام على خمس شهادة الله إله إلا الله وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة والحج وصوم رمضان. Now here understand this wording. Here is saying Islam is built on 5 pillars. Very clear English and as simple as water. 5 pillars of Islam, which means pillars we are talking about foundation. When the main building is a different thing. Pillars are on the foundation, and if it is foundation, normally it is under the ground. We don't see it. We see the building. We see the design of the building. We see the layout. We see the fixtures. We see the furniture. We see the appliances. We see the lighting, decoration. But we don't see the foundation because it is under the ground. So here it is telling the Islam is built on 5 pillars. And what is the pillar? First is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, to bring faith in Allah. That's the one. But faith is in your heart. A non-Muslim can't see what is in your heart. Then Allah is saying that to give witness of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is part of the kalima. To do the prayers. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ. Now salat is inside the mosque. Non-Muslims do not come to the mosque. They do not see the beauty of salat. They don't see the divineness and tranquility, peace of your mind when you do salat. And the next one is give charity. وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ. And then perform the charity, zakat. But zakat, as a Muslim, you give only within the Muslim community. So non-Muslims do not understand the beauty and benefit and the economic aspect, impact of zakat, anything. So they don't know what is happening within Islam. And the last one is, the fourth one is Wasami Ramadan. You fast during Ramadan. Now during Ramadan, many non-Muslims will come and ask you that, how come you are morning dusk, you are not drinking water even? What happens if you quietly go to the bathroom and drink a bit water? And our answer is that, why do I have to go to the bathroom? I can go to my fridge and get my water. Nobody is stopping me. But this is for Allah. So a non-Muslims do not understand the beauty of fasting because it's between you and your Allah, and it's between your body inside your stomach and the hunger in your brain. So the non-Muslims don't see the beauty, don't understand. And the last one is go for Hajj when you have money. Now Hajj, even you know that with the haram, the boundary of the haram, non-Muslims are not even allowed to enter. So they cannot get into that. So everything you heard about Islam, the Bunya al-Islam, the pillar, nothing a non-Muslim sees. He doesn't see the iman in your heart. He doesn't see the salat inside your mosque. He doesn't see the fasting inside your stomach. He doesn't see the zakat in your community. And he doesn't see the Hajj in Baytullah because they're not allowed to go there. So how a non-Muslim will get attracted and charmed or attracted to be Islam and they will enter into Islam? No way. That's why these are pillars. These are fundamentals. These are something that you have to do in your life to be a minimum quality as a Muslim. Below this, any of these falling down, you don't consider yourself within the boundary and territory of Muslim. So that's why these are pillars. These are inside Muslim community, inside your heart, inside between you and Allah. Then what is between you and the other people? What is the house of Islam? What is the beauty of Islam? That is mu'amalat, mu'asharat, and akhlaqiyat. One is mu'amalat, is transaction with people. One is mu'asharat, your lifestyle, your day-to-day life. And one is akhlaqiyat, your character. Those are the beautiful things that people see. How do you talk? How do you take money and how do you return? Whether you take money and return on time or not when you take a loan. When people bribe you, whether you can protect yourself or not. Whether you fulfill the right of other people. When your father died, did you give your share to your sister? When your mother is alive, do you serve her best compared to anybody else? We are very nice to your neighbors, scholars, and our office colleagues, but we are never nice to our own parents. Whereas serving your parents is more important than serving all the ulama, mashaikin, Awliya Allah, and everybody in the world cannot be together, combined, serving few minutes to serve your own parents. So those are the parts which I'm not going to touch today because that's a long chapter. I will remain with the basic fundamentals that we can keep and maintain in our life. I will summarize that when you say how to be a good Muslim, I will give an example. Luqman radiallahu anhu alayhi salam, he was not a prophet, he was a wise man. But when he was advising his son, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liked so much his advices to his son that he made this part of the Quran and he made a chapter in the Quran called Surah Luqman, verses from 12 to 19. I'm not reading out these because time will not permit. I will request you to all please go and read the verses of from the Surah Luqman 12 to 19. I will just summarize this by saying there are 10 key points that Luqman alayhi salam advised his son to be a good, at that time it was not Muslim, they were said Hunafa, pure people who were searching the path of truth. So the first he said, worship Allah alone. Of course, you must go and pray in the mosque and all these things, but make some time to pray alone and you will see the feeling. As-salatu mirajul mu'minin. Ali Raziyallahu said, when I want to talk to Allah, I stand in prayer because every word I recite in the prayer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is answering. And he said, when I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to talk to me, I start reciting Quran. So Quran is called Kalamullah. Other books is called Kitabullah, the book of Allah. Quran is Kalamullah, Allah's Kalam, Allah's words. So Allah talks to you and your whole Quran is written in it. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, ya muslimin, ya mu'minin. All the time Allah is addressing you as if you are in front of Him talking to you. So take some time to alone stand in front of Allah. Second one is obey your parents. After Allah, if there is anybody that you need to be obedient in this time, when Rasulullah was alive, definitely him and following him. But after that, the first and foremost, our obedience should go to our parents. Third is Allah knowing everything. When somebody asked one of the scholars that how you became a scholar, how you became a sheikh, how you became a saint, is because I tried to, he said, I wanted to find out some place that Allah will not see me. And I could not find any other place. So how can I do sins? Because Allah is seeing me all the time. So if you always have the feeling that Allah knows everything, in that case, you will understand and you will submit. It will be easy for you to submit yourself and the humility. Pray properly on time. Pray on time and pray properly. Two different things. One is don't rush. Don't pray like just crow and talk, talk, talk. Have peace of mind. Have coolness in your body. Calm and stabilize. Be slow, soft and humble when you pray. And pray on time. Do not delay and cumulatively collect 2-3 prayers together, because that tells how you are prioritizing yourself in submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you speak, speak softly. Many of the scholars in our country, Moazzem, jara waz kore Bangladeshe, emon chilla kore wazir moddhe, a lot of people amake message pathay that is this the right way of talking? And I try to say everybody that how polite Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there, that when he used to talk, people had to put their ear to hear because he was so soft. Even when Sahaba radiallahu anhu, they were talking about Islam and Deen inside mosque, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse in the whole Quran to tell them to lower their voice in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If they have to lower their voice in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, think about how lower your voice should be when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So talking loudly, shouting and talking in a very aggressive mode is not the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not even the advice and the like by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next one, sixth one, is it says about enjoying good and forbid evil. Try to do the good things and forbid yourself from bad things. Now, sometimes these two things can be together, because sometimes who is praying 5 times also ghush khaye. Sometimes praying 5 times but lying. No, don't discourage him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Definitely your salat will prevent and protect you from bad things. So even if he's doing some bad, don't stop him from salat. Continue to do your salat and practice it better and better. Inshallah aziz, today or tomorrow, Allah will protect you from doing bad things. So your effort should be to stop doing bad things and do good things as much possible. Always be patient. Allah has promised a word with the patient people. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. Allah's promise with all people who are patient. So being patient is a great virtue and great quality, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes. And many of your sins are forgiven, even if you have not done many other good deeds. Just by being patient, you can get a good credit and get good ranking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remain humble. And humble to that, what extent? Sometimes we get arrogant. Oh, he doesn't pray, or what do I have to care? Oh, he's not a good Muslim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. These are all from shaitan. When Musa alayhi salam, he is called Musa Khalilullah, Musa Kalimullah. And he is going to give dawah to Firaun, one of the worst of the enemies of Islam. And Allah is telling to Musa alayhi salam, oh Musa, when you go to Firaun, be humble, be polite when you talk, maybe he will accept. Imagine. He's telling a prophet, a Rasul, on whose book have been revealed. Allah is telling, be polite and humble to whom? A person like Firaun, who is a kuffar, who is cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is being destroyed and about to be destroyed. Worst of the creation on this earth is Firaun, Haman and Karun and all these people. And Allah is telling, oh Musa, be humble, be polite, be soft when you talk to him. So what is the message for us? None of us, the world together, combined together, is not going to be like a prophet. And none of this world, current time, all these aliens together is not going to be like Pharaoh. So what is there asked to be proud, arrogant, and angrily talking people with the aggressiveness? We need to humble and polite when you talk to me people and all the time. And the last two most important is don't be arrogant ever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like the arrogance because Allah says the pride is only for me. Why you are arrogant? Allah is reminding in the Quran, I have made you from a drop of nutf. Nutfa means the sperm. You are coming from the sperm that comes out of your body. Ghusl faraj say. Ghusl is faraj when the nutfa come out of your body. So Allah is telling another place, I have made you out of the earth. And not only a special art, the art that is made the clay, the parts of the clay that breaks with a small stroke. That's where I have created you. Why are you being arrogant? What is there to be arrogant? What do you possess? You possess everything that I have given you. And if I take you tomorrow, you have nothing. So what do you have to be so arrogant? And the last one is same, is the other part of the arrogant is the pride. That if you have pride, you'll be arrogant. So don't have pride and don't be arrogant. And in one of the hadiths of Rasulullah he said, somebody who is arrogant and or pride is as if he is playing with the covering of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah give us the tawfiq to follow these 10 tips or 10 guidelines that Luqman ﷺ gave to his son, and which helped, like by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so much to that extent that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his part of a chapter in the Quran and he described in the Quran. And I think until the day of Qiyamah, these will be the guidance that we will follow to be a good practicing Muslim. And in any of these 10, it's not big deal. As I say, the time is passing too fast. I think I have only a few minutes. Already long time has gone. So I'll try to summarize one or two examples how you do it in life. But before that, I have another component to finish and complete to tell. By the way, when I took my son to Canada for his graduation university admission, and I took him to the masjid in London, Ontario, the first khutbah that I hear on the masjid from the imam was this advice of Luqman, and the first advice given as a new coming Muslim student by a imam who was another student, mashallah. May Allah give him a jazak khair. And everybody's afraid to send their kids in North America because they think that, oh, they will not be in Islam. No. I was so happy to see that I took my son to stabilize and to settle in Canada. And I saw another student giving a khutbah, and he was giving these 10 advices of Luqman. I said, Wallahu Akbar. When Allah wants to give the light of Islam, when Allah wants to give hidayat, Allah gives in the north and south, east and west. There is no destiny boundary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's our limitation that we think Islam is better here or there. For Allah, everywhere is equal. Now, I wanted to say 6 basically qualities. And this is my last part. I will go very quick, the qualities. In another day, probably I will explain what are these qualities. According to the analysis of many of these scholars, that they try to analyze the life of the Sahaba. Prophet's life is a complete life. Sahabas, they try to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And for us, we should first make an intention to follow the Sahaba. And when we follow them, then we try to follow fully Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So according to the scholars, they analyzed and they found out that there were 6 qualities of the Sahaba which made it easy for them to fulfill any order of Allah that came and anything that Rasulullah seems to say. So the Sahaba is to say that summa ta'allamtal iman wa summa ta'allamtal Quran. First we learned iman, then we learned Quran. Now when people say that, Moazzem bhai, where do you go to these people and that people, and why don't you directly read Quran? Well, the Sahaba, the best of the students whose teacher was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was getting guidance directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those brilliant jewel diamond pearl students are telling that we learned Iman first and then we learned Quran. Now, how did we learn Iman? For 9 years in Makkah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed ayah of Quran, only the stories of the previous nation to build their Iman. And after 9 years, Allah first gave the order of Salah that even Allah didn't send through angel Jibreel, but took Allah Rasulullah system to the Miraj in the Jannah, and then only gave him as a gift the means of communicating with him for the normal people is Salah. So 9 years it took for Rasulullah system to prepare them Iman. And what is that Iman? There are 6 components of the Iman that we all know and we all memorize, but maybe we don't care, we are not careful about the meaning. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi wal yawmil akhiri wal qadri wa sharrihi wa min Allahi ta'ala wal basi ba'dil maut. So here you can see the first is believe in Allah, the Amantu billah. and then malaikati and angels, وكتبه on the books, the revelations, ورسوله and the rasuls, اليوم الآخر والقدر والشر من الله تعالى. So these are the 6 components that each of these we have to have a complete full faith. And how do we increase our faith? By telling more about these things, by listening, by discussing, by seeing everything in the eye of Iman. And as I said, I will describe another day, inshallah, on elaborate in each of these. The second one is Salah. Allah is telling that if you pray, one is Hadith Qudsi, one is Quran, one is Hadith. Hadith Qudsi means which are almost like the Quran that has been told by Jibreel alayhi salam directly word by word from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That in the day of judgment, first thing that will be accounted is your salah. Your salah is complete, then other deeds. If your salah is not complete, other things are not to be counted. And it's in Dawud Sharif 864. And on the other hand, if you don't say your prayer on time, you're going to enter into Jahannam. So there's no option. But if you pray, which you have to do must, Allah is in Hadith Qudsi, Rasulullah is promising that Allah will give you 5 rewards. 1 in dunya, 4 in akhirat. In dunya, Allah will solve and make your rizq easy. And rizq means your food, your shelter, your clothes, your honor, and your peace of mind. These 5 together is rizq. Allah is telling, I will give it easily in this world. And then 4 things in the akhirat. Your punishment in the grave will be forgiven. You will get your book of deeds on the right hand. You will cross the Pulsirat, the breeze in the light of the speeding, and you will enter into Jannah without reporting. These 4 in the akhirat, 1 in dunya. What do we need more? Only by saying salat 5 times. May Allah give us the tawfiq to fulfill and do the 5 times prayer. Inshallah Aziz, I can tell you I have traveled 65 countries in the world. I have 10 or 15,000 kilometers each time in Pakistan and Bangladesh, in India. And I have traveled alone even, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, when I met in Uzu at the time, Alhamdulillah, not a single day namaz had to be qaza. So this is possible, this is easy. Only you have to keep your Uzu all the time. And you have to make the intention that whenever salat comes, whatever comes on your way, whether you're meeting, whether your business is your trade, remember one thing, that Allah has promised that everything in this world that you need, I will give you in exchange of salah, and whatever you need in akhirat. Whom do we trust on? Whom do we believe on? Whom do we rely on for other things if we are not believing the promise of Allah? And since we may not believe, Allah is saying, Apni jater kosam ke bolti, which means I swear in the name of my own existence that this is my promise. My dear brothers, I think we should all believe. Next is, whenever we are talking about the namaz or any other, it's farz, it's mandatory for every Muslim to also learn the masail, to learn the orders of Allah and learn the sunnah of Rasulullah, because orders of Allah is what, and sunnah of Rasulullah is how to do it. So and that to make it easy, I can tell you the way I started. One of the sheikh told me that if you try to learn about full Islam, the lifespan is not even enough. You may complete your life, you may not complete availing the knowledge. But start with day-to-day activity. Take getting up in the morning and tell that today I will wake up in the way of Allah has asked me to wake up. And I will wake up following the sunnah of Rasulullah. Simple. And for next 7 days, don't learn anything new. Just practice how to wake in the order of Allah, how to sleep, wake up in the sunnah of Rasulullah. Then wearing clothes, going to the toilet, washing your face, eating breakfast, going to the office, traveling on the way, coming back with your family life, your daily transaction, the trading, sports, recreation, weekend, monthly event, all this you make a list of activity of your day-to-day life and take item by item and go to a sheikh or go to a book and learn what is the order of Allah for that activity and what is the sunnah of Rasulullah. And the way you learn, immediately start practicing. Life will be easy, slowly, but gradually you will start getting everything. There is a saying that in the day of judgment, Rasulullah said, among you who will be the most unfortunate, everybody kept quiet. Rasulullah said, among you who in the day of judgment will come in the mountains like rewards or the good deeds, but he will enter into Jahannam with all the deeds gone. Why? Because he misbehaved with people. He did not fulfill the rights of the people. And he swore people, he gibat, he talked, backbited against people, he lied, he took the rights away from the people. So everybody is coming for their accounts, for their return. And he has started giving his good deeds. And when that was finished, then he could not give anything more. Then Allah says, oh, put their sins on his whole shoulder, and his head filled up with the sins of other people that he violated the rights. Now he is going to hell, although he stood up in the day of judgment with all the rewards that the good deeds that he did. So Ikramul Muslimin is to fulfill the rights of the other Muslim brother, to consider the other Muslim brother has more rights than you, they are better than you, and they have more deserving rights than you. So down your right. Niger dabai rakhi, Niger propriogenous necessity ke. So try to suppress your own necessity and try to fulfill the necessity and demand and requirement for the other Muslims. If you fulfill the right and need of one Muslim, one need, not the whole of all of the nine, one need, then promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah will fulfill 73 of your needs, one in dunya, 72 in akhirat. So why to always worry about us? When you do for others, others will do for you. That is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ikramul muslimin means try to fulfill the other side, be nice and kind with other people. Allah will be nice and kind with you in exchange. The fifth and the second last point is that everything that you do in this life and the world, do only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't try to show people. If you try to show people, even if you donate the mountain of Uhud full of gold, in the day of judgment, Allah is going to catch you. But if you do it for the sake of Allah, even you give a debt, or if you've given a glass of water to somebody only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to these, that Allah will increase your rewards to much to that extent, it will be as if a Uhud mountain of Uhud full of gold. So do anything and everything only to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But shaitan will not let you do it. Shaitan will not allow you to do it because shaitan doesn't want you to do good things. That's the challenge, that the project he has taken. So shaitan will try to stop you from doing the good things. And even if you do it, shaitan comes on the way and try to change your intention. You are making good salat and you say salat, all of a sudden you say somebody came from outside in the masjid, you make more nice and polite so that people say, oh, mashallah, his salat is so good. So you don't get anything from the salat. Allah will throw this salat on your face, and in the judgment you'll be accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whom you prayed the salat, not for Allah. So like this, there is another hadith, you know. The first person who will go to Jahannam is an alim who earned knowledge only to get the credit from people. Next will be the mujahid who fought in the war and became a shaheed, but he will be thrown to the hell because he fought, because people will say he is an warrior. One big philanthropist will come to Jannah with all this. Allah will say, no, you give donation, because people will say that you are a great philanthropist. You got the credit, go hell now. So anything that you do 3 times on a way, in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, check 3 times that are you doing it for the sake of Allah or for any other reason. If shaitan has even changed your intention, make a step for tawbah and return and make sincere. When you do, the first hadith in the Bukhari is innamal amal bin niyat. Everything Allah will judge you according to your intention. So always do good or small, big or small, always make intention to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will increase and make it to that extent that you will not have any count how much Allah is doing. And the last of all, the most important, I will say 2 verses of the Quran. For all human beings from Adam to Eve, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَانَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. I have created the jinn and insan only to worship me. But for Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there is a very khususi, special designation, a special certificate, a special status. Allah is telling, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Kuntum khayra ummah. You are the best of all the ummah, all the followers of the Prophet. Ukhrijat, you have been sent, linnas, for the whole mankind. Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf, you will call people towards Islam for good things. Wa tanhauna al munkar, and you will stop and try to prevent people from bad things. Wa tu'minuna billah, you will do these things with iman. Allah is telling, this is the purpose of creation of Ummah Muhammad sallallahu. Allah is telling, you are the best of all. And when Allah is saying ukhrijat, means Allah has sent us, means each and every Muslim ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu. My dear brothers and sisters, don't undermine any Muslim, even if he doesn't pray, even if he's not having beard, if he's not in the levels of Sunnah. Don't undermine any Muslim, because each and every Muslim of the current time who are ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amongst billions of Muslims, billions of people in the world. So these are the chosen people by Allah. But if we are not fulfilling according to the expectation of Allah, that's a different reckoning, different asking, and different punishment. But the reward and the status is such. And why is this status? Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf. We will invite towards people good things. And Allah says in another place in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَآمِلَ صَالِحًا وَأَقُولُ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Who can be better amongst you than who invite people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَآمِلَ صَالِحًا, and also the good things, وَأَقُولُ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, and then only he says that I'm among the Muslims. I wish and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let the cadets who think they are the best of all the people of their time, let you be the da'i Allah, that Allah is telling, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ, nobody is better than you. Allah is telling that you have been sent for a mission. Let the cadet world and the cadets community and their relatives and their progeny and their forefathers, brothers, sister, wife, and the children. Let them understand that Allah is looking, probably, this is my interpretation, at the cadets, that, oh Allah, I have given you so much of intelligence, so much of ability, so much of charisma, so much of knowledge. Why are you not spending this to understand my Quran and be a da'iyah and give dawah to the whole world, and let this dawah be in the farthest corner of the world? And today's event and speech and activity is as part of one of the activity. May Allah give us the tawfiq. May Allah give those who are organizing, those who listen, had a patient hearing. Thank you very much all for this. Thank you very much. Shukran.
Thank you, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. I will, why don't you drink some water? I know you fasted today also. It's a tough day for you. So while we have a lot of questions, what I'll do, I will say at least 3 or 4. In the meantime, maybe you can drink some water. And would you want me to write it down? Do you want to write it down, or do you want me to say it one by one?
No, I can write it down, or I can answer one by one.
Sure. So why don't you drink some water? I'll take 1 minute just to advise our audience what's coming next.
Okay, I'll quickly grab one glass of water.
Sure, thank you. So thank you all. Once again, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining today. I am very excited that we are having this session. Our guest speaker for tonight, Dr. Moazzem Hossain, very talented. He's also a doctor, but he's also a great practicing Muslim. And I hope whatever you heard so far, at least for some of you, this was precious, useful maybe, or maybe some questions that you would like to know. I would like to remind all of our guests for tonight that this session is being recorded. It will be shared in social media. And if you do not like your face to be shown, kindly stop video so that at least your face is not shared. If you're okay with it, you can keep it open. We are going to go to Q&A for next. And I will read some of the questions that came into the chat session for our guest speaker for tonight, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. And I think we learned a great deal today, some of the clarification we got. And many of us also have many questions, and this might not be related to the topic that our guest speaker is discussing for tonight. What I would say is, Dr. Moazzem Hossain, if you do not want to answer the question in this session, you are okay. You can pass it on and take it at the next session, because there might be question which is related, and some of the questions are not related. So it's your choice. You can say, pass it on. I will answer next time.
So can I have some question or discussion?
Mr. Rubaya, I am sorry. Can you kindly mute yourself? You'll have a one-on-one question in few minutes.
Masood Farouk, Moazzem's class friend in Cadet College.
Yeah, thank you. I understand. Can you kindly mute yourself, because you will have a one-on-one in few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I need to mute myself.
Yes, please. There is a mute button. You can press a mute button, and then you can ask the question once the Q&A is done.
Not
so much.
just question, just discussion. I liked.
So some of the question might be, like I said, related and non-related. And Mr. Rubaya, we'll open the session for everybody one-on-one, then you can ask your questions. So please kindly bear some patience with us. Right now we are going, some of the people said we joined halfway. Will you have it recorded? The question is, yes, this session is being recorded and will be shared. So I can send you the link for you all so that you can review again if you had any questions or if you want to see the first half of this session. Because I'm the host for today, I am going to take the leverage to ask the first question, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. Sorry about that to all the guests, but I have written down all of them. We'll go one by one. Surah 55, Surah Ar-Rahman is one of my favorite. And Surah 55:5, it says, don't you see the sun and moon go by precise calculation? Then Surah 55:6 says, don't you see the stars and the trees prostrate? So my question would be, I know that I see the sun and moon, and the scientists say, yes, the sun and the moon revolve around precise calculation. But why I don't see the stars and the trees prostrate? That's the first question. Second, I do not remember the exact surah where it says, but I have seen, it says, we have created seen and unseen. So for example, seen are the animals, we see the stars, we see the sky, we see the earth, and unseen are, for example, the angels, the jinns. So my question would be, why Allah created some of them as seen and some of them unseen? Third question came actually from my friend who asked me so many times, and I am not a scholar, so I was not able to, and maybe he got the answer, but I will ask it anyway, which is my friend Eshad. He said many times, he says, don't you see in the heaven where there is garden and under which the river flowing? So I'll stop at this 3. We have more questions. So are you ready to take it, or you want me to go more and more?
No. What is the last question?
Last question, it says about heaven. So about heaven, it says, don't you see the beautiful garden and under which a river flowing? So basically the garden is top of the river or the sea or the ocean. And Eshad is here. I think he can also clarify. I do not remember the ayah. But these are the 3 questions I have. We have another like 7 to 8 questions. Do you want me to go on or?
No. Let me touch these 3.
Sure,
First
thank
thing,
you.
I think, thank you very much. I agree with you that definitely we are not scholars. We have our jobs, and whole day I have been on the workshop just 1 hour before I break from my calls. So without being a scholar, it is very risky to answer you. Even on some of the sessions when the non-Muslims came for Islam in my house, I kept my daughter with me. She's a Hafiz of Quran, she's an Alima. So I kept, but when I asked her to give dawat, she said, no, Dad, you give dawat because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many verses in the Quran says, don't you see my sins? Don't you see my signs? And best of all the signs of Allah is in the human body. And he said, you are a doctor. You know so much of the miracles that is in the human body that I can't explain even, and a mufti and a mufassir can't say the way you say. So he asked me to tell, she asked me, but she was on the background to refer from the verses of the Quran. When you are telling these references, definitely if I don't study before, I'm not a mufassirin, I'm not a native speaker of Arabic, so I'm not going to, because in the Cadet College Forum you have seen the same verses, we take the translation of English even from 2 different sources, that changes. So to me, I will say I will not go into detail because sometimes Allah has used rhetoric words, means just to give an example, but the meaning is somewhere in another event. And I will give an example. In one place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has expressed for a feelings where Allah has expressed the word that he has used, which is like a boiling water. But the term that Allah has used, that's not a common word used for boiling water. Now, Mufti Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi, who is a mufassir Quran, and he has written one of the best of all the tafsir called Tafsir Ma'riful Quran. He, being a native speaker of Arabic and being from Quraysh, the family that Rasulullah come, he did not understand what is the word and how and under what situation Allah revealed that. So he went to an Arab Bedouin family and he started living that when a Bedou family uses that particular word. And after 1 year of staying, he realized that one day when the woman in that house became pregnant, and he called his husband that his labor pain has started, and he started boiling the water, but every moment he's tension because in the middle of the desert, no doctor, no nurses, all the time. And at that time, he said when the water boiled, and he smiled, and he is happy because he has now the remedy for the labor pain. So at that time, the word that came out of his mouth is the word exactly Allah has used in the Quran. So it took from an Arab Quraysh, a native speaker, 1 year to live in a Buddha family to understand the application of a particular word that he was not very sure. So to me, I will not go into that exactly whether Allah meant here a physical prostration, or in other places, many of the scientists, they say there are things happen in the space or in the universe that we don't see, but the other people see. When we see that one shooting star, we call it. But according to many scholars, the way Quran tafsir has been described, they said that when the jinns, the shaitan, they are close to the sky, they are trying to whisper and try to hear what is happening in the sky. Sometimes the stars are being thrown. Now, that is the interpretation of those who has said about the Mufassirin. But in the current time, we say shooting stars is either they have got out of their the route or the galaxy or their what's called axis, and they have off their track or shoot. So this why I don't want to go into detail that why, but this much I have heard from the scholars that all the animals, all the leaves or the trees, not physically we can't see, but they are all submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah has not given the power to them to be disobedient with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But only one example I will give you. For example, when the earthquake comes, we don't understand until the seismographic machines tells us. But you will see all the animals running away, which means the animals have got a frequency of hearing that they can hear the tremor half an hour before the real earthquake takes place, which we cannot. The dog has got a smelling power that we cannot, but they can go into the sulfur and can find out the weapon and the narcotics with their nose. So Allah has given different creation, different ability that is not in the purview of us, but this is an extraordinary skill for them. So in that skill, I do not know something might happen that we may not see, but I go by the Quran that Rasulullah said that few things you will understand, few things you will not understand, and if you don't understand, don't go deep into it, don't ask too much. And he gave an example of Bani Israel, that, and I will give this example for us to understand, that Allah said Bani Israel that give one cow, just give one cow sacrifice, I'll be happy. The Bani Israel says, go and ask Allah how many years? He said 2. Then go and ask how many teeth? They said 2. Then go and come how much, what will be the color combination? So all the combinations when it came, they couldn't find a cow until there was one cow where the man demanded the cost of the gold equivalent to the weight of the cow. But according to the Mufassirin, if you had not asked so many questions, you just give one cow with the $2, that would be good enough for Allah to be happy. So sometimes I don't go into too detail of this questioning because if you don't have an adequate and quite a good knowledge, it might mislead you. And that's what shaitan sometimes mislead you, because by questioning, he lost the track and he wants people to do that. I will not discourage you to ask questions, but in that case, go to a very good scholar who is a scholar of space science, who is a scholar of the biology and botany, and the scholar of Quran and understanding. Probably they can answer you a better question, not me. Second one, when you say the unseen, again, I'll tell you that as I said in the beginning, that we are the submitters. We submit to Allah, that's why we are good Muslim. So today's session was how we submit good and bad, well. So if we have questions, that is to be separate session. I will encourage you to take sessions of Zakir Naik. I think this gentleman has got wonderful logic of explaining to people who comes with completely opposite of Islam, belief and atheists and all. So I take most good example from his speeches when you start different questioning that is not to be answered by easy and normal people. On the heavens and gardens and flowing the, I will call that, I don't know any of you have gone to Kashmir or not. I had the opportunity to go into the Kashmir of the Indian side and the Pakistan side. I think if you have doubt on how the water and how the milk and the honey flows under the gardens, I think in the world there are many examples. There are rivers in Colombia where you can see 7 different colors of water in one river. You can see the pink lake and the blue water next to each other. So there are so many miracle things in the nature in this current world that I don't wonder that in the heaven, when Allah says that I will show you things you have never seen, and you will see things that people have not seen before, not thought and not heard before. So what can be heaven? I can't imagine in this world. Then the real pleasure and the surprise will go away. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you. I mean, thank you for touching all the 3 questions, and the example you gave, especially for the heaven and the garden. Like you said, that like I haven't been to Colombia or Pakistan, and Kashmir, which is in my top list, but not yet. I haven't been there yet. But this is good to know. This could also help some other people also for traveling and things like that. Like the 7 colors that you mentioned. It's amazing, something that amazing. Something from Tawheed. Irshad, you will get to ask question pretty soon. I have a few more questions and then one-on-one.
Okay.
Tawheed says, the young people for today, like this generation, they say, Islam takes away all the fun from life, the music, the party, the games. Why we need religion where it turns people against each other in the name of religion. We are good people, we do not do harm. Religion does not make us any better. That's one question. Second one is, would you mind answering this one? And then I have one more and then we can open the Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is a very interesting question. Let's go back 1400 years before. If Islam has made us fight, what happened in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when there was a famous story of battle that one Kabila, at that time there was no nation, there was no United Nations, there was no state concept, there was a concept of tribes. So 2 tribes, they started fighting each other. And why they were fighting? Because in one of the water reservoir, one Kabila, one tribe's camel came before the other, but who came later, his camel went and started drinking water. Now camels are not civilized people like us. They don't stand in queue and they don't wait for each other. So he came late, but he just went on, he started drinking water. Now the clan of the first camel, of the people, human being, they started fighting, saying that why your camel drink water before me? And they started fighting. 6 or 7 people died on the first day. And when they are dying, they are telling their children that I could not take the revenge. When you grow up, then you take the revenge from that clan. So those children of those clans, they grew up after 30 years. Nobody knows out of the blue the war again started because they want to read what father said. And clan after clan, generation after generation, then fought each other. Now, imagine when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came and he taught the Sahaba about the Ikram al-Muslimin that I have told you. Well, we don't practice, and current world, what happens, that's different. But I'm giving you the practical right example. So when the battle happened with the Romans, and the battle happened when one woman, a sister of a Sahaba, she carried some water to give to the wounded people in the war. She went to one person, he was about to die, and he wanted to give the last sips of water, and somebody in far away told, miss, he's thirsty. So he says, no, I don't need water, give it to my brother, he might be more thirsty than me. He goes there and then hears the sound next to him. So the sister learns to the 3rd person, he's Shaheed, he's dead by now. She comes back to the 2nd, he's dead. She comes back to the 1st person, he's dead. Now 3 people died but didn't drink a drop of water, considering that his next Muslim brother may be more thirsty, take the water for him. Now compare, I'm talking in a difference of 30 years. That 30 years back, before, at the time of Rasulullah and the clans were fighting because the camel drank the water before. And now in 30 years time, they are reaching to a situation where they are now giving each other life, not drinking water to sacrifice somebody else. Who turned this generation? Who turned these blind people, arrogant people, absolutely illiterate people who are fighting each other? This is Islam. This is the light of Islam. Now, if you want to tell that Muslims are fighting and they're destroying, listen to the speeches in Palestine from the Jewish people and from the, I'm not talking about the Zionists, but the normal Jewish and the Christian people. Still the key of the main church in Jerusalem is held by the 2 Muslim person. And why? Because when Umar radiallahu anhu came and conquered Bayt al-Muqaddas, he came to conquer. He was the, at that time, emperor of 2/3 of the world. But he entered and he did not took over the church. Rather, he asked a place to pray, and he prayed in one corner of the church, did not convert the church into mosque. He built another mosque, but did not touch that. And when Salahuddin Ayyubi rahmatullahi alayhi, when he conquered again against the Crusaders, he against said the norm that what Omar did not do, I am not going to do, and he did not take over. And still that church, the Muslims are the custodian of the maintenance of the church. So when you say that Muslims, we are fighting each other, we are killing each other, well, you don't bring some particular country in the world, you don't bring them as an example of Islam. Islam is what is in the Quran, what is in the Hadith, what is in the Hayat al-Sahaba. We need to follow, and if we are not following, that's our problem, that's our fault. But the religion that has got rooted the word peace, I can't believe that that religion cannot bring fight and war in this world. Rather, if you listen to the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advice when you had to go for war, and look at all the wars, Muslims were attacked, except one or two instances, like in Jang Muta, when the messenger was killed on the way. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I need to send a first army to tell them that this is a violation of normal diplomatic protocol to kill your messenger. So let us give them a message. So he sent a soldier. This is like one or two. All other fight and battle, Muslims were attacked. But when the Muslims were attacked even, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised three things: that when you go and have, only attack and kill those people who are in the combatant, who has taken the war dress. Other than this, if it's the elderly, women, or the religious people, or the educated people and the children, don't touch them, don't kill them. Rather, you release them or release them in exchange of teaching education or in different departments. So, and don't destroy the crops. And this hadith or ayat of Quran is more than important, that when it says one innocent person, if you kill one innocent person, as if you have killed the whole mankind. So if these verses are there, if these examples of prophets' advice is there, if we are not following, this is our problem. This is our deficiency, our mistakes. It's nothing to do with Islam. It's just our interpretation. So for me, I don't see that Islam is going to bring any peace or the problem. Second is important question is that in this young generation, this current, the Islam is taking fun from. Well, I got converted. Converted means I was a Muslim from by birth, but when I was only 24 years old, I was graduating from medical science. I spent 1 year, I left medical college and I left 1 year to study Islam, and I decided to change my life. And then since then, well, do I have any less fun than any of you? Don't I laugh? Don't I smile more than any of you? And don't I make people smile more than any of you do? So where is the fun lost? I don't understand. But the change is that I used to play guitar in the orchestra or in the stage when I was a medical student. Trust me, and I'm not lying. And if I'm lying, Allah knows my heart. The pleasure that I was getting by playing a guitar in the stage, only Allah knows, and Allah will reveal that. Trust me, when I recite Quran, when I listen Quran, and when I listen to the bayan of Ustad Noman Ali Khan or Mufti Meng, trust me, my heart is filled with tranquility and pleasure that you don't get even if you have 3 hours of songs at a row. So it's the taste has changed. Your taste is different, my taste is different. The young people who are in Islam, you go and see, I see young people in masjid here, where I see 14 years old people in Salat al-Fajr. When I don't even have the ability to go every time, I see 14 years old boy. I see them all the time reciting Quran as if we all the time, আমরা যেরকম পুরানো দিনের গান গুনগুনাই, ওরা গুনগুনায় কোরআনের আয়াত পড়ে আর হুজুর সাল্লাল্লাহু নাশিদ পড়ে. So you will not get the test what they are getting, because when you have diabetes or when you have hepatitis, then মিষ্টি খাইলে তিতা লাগে. Normal person will not understand the mistake. Liver he is having hepatitis now. So if our taste has changed, music and band that's our problem. But what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is that যখন কোরআন শুনলে ভালো লাগে, তাহলে বুঝবা তোমার ইমানের নূর জন্মাইতেছে বা গ্রো করতেছে। যখন কোরআন শুনলে ভালো লাগবে না, আল্লাহ রাসূলের কথা শুনলে ভালো লাগবে না, then start checking, having your ECG. যেমন ECG করলে আমরা বুঝি যে সামনের আর্টারি ব্লক হইছে না, লেফট আর্টারি না ইনফেরিয়র আর্টারি। তো বলছে 3টা জিনিস দেখবা, যেটা যদি তুমি না হয় বুঝবা যে তোমার ইমানের কমজোরি আসতেছে। একটা হচ্ছে আল্লাহর কথা শুনলে যদি আল্লাহর আজমত পয়দা না হয়, জান্নাতের কথা শুনলে যদি শক পয়দা না হয়, জাহান্নামের কথা শুনলে যদি ভয় না হয়, তাহলে বুঝবা you have a problem in your heart that we need to get treated. So I don't think young generation not going. 26 বছর, আমার বাসায় কোনো টেলিভিশন নাই. All my 4 kids, mashallah, they are studying, they are going to US and Canada, North American University, and they are happy in their life. Rather, the advantage is that স্কুল থেকে ফেরত এসে ওরা বাসায় নিজেরা কথা বলে, বাপ মার সাথে কথা বলে. They don't sit in front of the TV and start playing the games. Although games খেলে কম্পিউটার, but I'm saying television ছাড়াও, entertainment, গান বাজনা ছাড়াও, you can come and stay with my family and ask my kids whether they enjoyed their life or they are bored. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So this is a very sensitive topic, because the young generation of today, especially for example in the USA, it is very tough for them for many ways. So I think it's a different type of discussion. But
no, I think Sohail, I just need to add, I think he had a very, very good point যেটা আমি বলতে ভুলে গেছি. One of the limitation of the Muslim parents is that we restrict their life too strong. and we apply Islam in a very boring and in a very crude and in a very rude way. And the example I give is that I gave my 2 children to Hafiz the Quran in the madrasa. The teacher, the first thing they started beating. And when I had an argument with them, don't beat he said, without beating, there cannot be Hafiz the Quran. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I challenged him that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has never touched any and never advised. And one time he was in prayer, Hassan and Hossain on 2 shoulders, and they were not getting up and he was not waking up from salah. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he thought, is Islam alive? So he tried to see and he tried to take Hassan Hossain from his shoulder because they will fall down. Rasulullah stopped him with his left hand. He said, don't touch them, let them there be. And unless they got down, Rasulullah did not wake up from his prayer. So if this was the dealing of Rasulullah with their kids, currently the Muslim parents, they restrict and they constrict the kids in such a way they get bored. But if we know how to talk to them, if we know the advice of Rasulullah that if you want respect from a children, respect them first. If you want them to listen to you, listen to them first. And if you want them to follow Islam, being Islam in your life first. So what I have seen in the West, I had 3 years in UAK. I used to give lectures in the masjid. The parents would drop their kids outside the mosque and go and again come back when they want to pick them. In between the 3 hours lesson the students had. When they go home, life is different. Mother is different, father is different, office is different, the DJ is different. So what they listen in the mosque, they have a conflict, they become a confused child. So I think its problem is within us. If we become a not double standard, but unified one Islam in our life, practice that, teach the kids, I'm sure our kids will be better Muslim than us, and they will be the right ambassador for Islam in the West, inshallah.
Good, thank you. So I think in summary, what I understood, and at least some of them we understood, is that it is not only on children, but it is actually more us on parents to guide them in a way, not brutally, but more like understanding and respecting and giving them the dawah just for anybody else, so that they get to explore, they get to understand and everything like that. The second question also, there's one more question from Tawheed. It's okay, it could be a different session, but I'll ask it because it came on the Q&A session, which says there are Muslim countries where it got the highest level of corruption. According to you, what is missing in these countries? And top of that, I am going to add one more thing, which is why many of the Muslim countries have the highest level of interest rates for their money. If it's a different session, you're welcome to answer in a different session. You can pass it on. Mr. Rubaya, Rubaya is here. He would like to ask you a question, and there are some other people who would like to speak to you one-on-one.
Okay, I will come back to Masood because I don't have a time limitation now. No, I think it's not this session or another session. As I told you that politics is the most matured and advanced form of Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after doing 23 years of preaching, on the last part of his life only he became the ruler of Medina, and he practiced politics, and when the Islam expanded beyond Jazirat al-Arab. So in this case, politics is very, very difficult. I will start with a very anecdotal example. Everybody knows I go with these Tablighi people, work of Dawat and all these things. So one time, one prime minister of a country, don't ask me which country, came to the Markaz and told the Amir of the Tabligh, he said, I know there are some good people. I heard that in Tabligh people are good. So give me some good people to run my administration. The Amir of Tabligh says that your system is such robust that my training of being good is not going to withstand your pressure of the corruption in your system. So these good people will get corrupt when they go into the system. So better you give some of your people into Tabligh and give them 4 months, and let me try to work on them and make them a bit better and go and run your system. But my people, even they are good, they're not strong enough to go and sustain in your system. So political system or the corruption or the power, the greed, these are something so complicated that you need extreme and very high level of iman to withstand. I'll give you an example. Umar radiallahu anhu, when he was going to conquer the Baitul Muqaddas, he started from Medina. After half the way, people said, you are the emperor of 2/3 of the world. You are the ruler. How can you go with such, and you have a dress which has got more than 14 different patches on your body, and with a poor small camel you are traveling? No, it doesn't fit. He said, why? He said, no, no, you should take a nice, good silk dress, and then you should wear on a horse, and then you should go like the ruler of Muslim. You must have the great gorgeousness. So he agreed to it initially. And then he said, fine, then put it. And as soon as he started, he had a different feeling with a big Arabian horse and with the nice clothes. He started feeling a pride and king and like a charisma. He immediately stopped. He said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Definitely shaitan has come in me. I am that Omar who could not count the ships when we were coming in the evening. And this Omar, by dint of Islam, I have come to this level and I'm being proud. No, no, no. He said, bring my old camel and bring the clothes which are of patches. And he took those and very humbly and softly he went to Baitul Muqaddas. When he went, either there was supposed to be a battle with the Christians or there was supposed to be a submission. The priest in the church, he came down from the top and he said, look, in our books, there are 3 things that the person will have. And I have found 2 of them. I'm not going to long story. There is one that was saying that there will be 13 patches on his body, but I can see 11 in you. If you can show me the other 2, I will give you the key without ear. So Umar Raziallahu anhu raised his hands and showed that 2 of the patches on his armpit. And immediately he gave the ear. He said, this is what it has been written. The ruler will be like this. So in a nutshell, what I wanted to say that the current Muslims rulers, whether it's a Muslim majority, whether it's the name is Muslim or Islamic Republic, to be honest, I don't see any good example in the current time. They follow the example of real Islam. And I will give you one small example. When Mahathir Mohamad, I didn't want to tell about political thing, but Islamic financing is one of my very favorite subjects. Mahathir Mohamad, when he became the president in his first term in the last days, when he started the Islamic financing, he requested the whole Arab world that keep all your money in the Malaysian bank and the Malaysian account. In 10 or 20 years time, I don't remember the time, he said, I will give an example to the whole world that we can do Islamic financing where profit is permitted, interest is haram. I will show the world. But unfortunately, our Arab leaders did not do that. Still, 40% of the finance that Malaysia runs is on Islamic financing, and they are on the prospering, shining, the others are collapsing. So there is a problem with the unity of the Muslims. I think the greed and then the power and all these things. And the biggest of all, I told in all the 10 advices by Luqman alayhi salam, the politeness, the humility, the humbleness, the piety, standing in front of Allah. If any of the current rulers of the Muslim world, if they stand in front of Allah in one of the night in Tahajjud, and if he realizes that Umar radiallahu anhu cried when a dog was dying out of the hunger, that Umar, oh Umar, you will be asked about the animals who die in your kingdom. How can the current time, the Muslim rulers have anxiety, have so much that they can buy a picture of $450 million? I just can't understand where this money comes when there is starving people. So to me, don't bring the current example, and those examples should not negate you, should not take you away, because why are you listening to an Arab or Muslim leader of the current time when you have such wonderful stories of Rasulullah and Sahaba? If you think those are not possible, I will have another session to bring you some examples that in the current time, there are rulers, there are people, and I don't want to give in public speech. I have been in Afghanistan, I have been in Yemen, I have been in Syria, I have been in Libya, I have been in Iraq, and I'm seeing the real wonderful Muslims still live where you can demonstrate good practicing Muslim in current time. Only they may not be grabbing the power because that's a different politics. Until the last days come, maybe it is difficult for the Muslims to come into power again, but that should not discourage us from being a practicing Muslim in our life.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. So in the Q&A session, that's all I had. What we'll do for next is we are going to unmute everyone. Our attendees and the guests for today, they get to ask question one-on-one. And I think, Mr. Rubaya, I'm sorry I had to mute you, but you'll be the first one to ask question. I know it's late for you also, where you are. And then I believe Mr. Ishaq Khan had a question too. And you can unmute yourself whenever you want to ask question. I would request you just raise your hand so we can see you, and then maybe I can call your name. That's the way, not too many people talking at the same time. So let's unmute Mr. Rubaya. Would you kindly go ahead? And he's also a friend of Dr. Moazzem Hossain. Please go ahead.
Masood, go ahead. It's floor for you.
Unmute him. He's muted.
Okay, just a second.
Oh, he's muted. Okay.
Yes, Masood, you can talk now.
আমি কি মিস্টার রুবাইয়া নাকি?
মানে তোমার নাম your ID আসছে রুবাইয়া লেখে এইজন্য।
ওকে, আমি আমার মেয়ের মোবাইল থেকে ইয়ে করতেছি। It's okay.
So you are Abu Rubaya. You are Abu Rubaya.
Okay. So I have been with you for whole this session. I appreciate. I have learned so many things. Just don't think. When you are saying, just don't undermine any Muslim, then don't you think, don't undermine any human being, God creation. When you are saying don't undermine any Muslim, then the next day some other people can come into. Just don't.
Okay, thank you, Masood. I think you are absolutely correct. You are valid. My comment was basically relative. I didn't want to say that I'm undermining the human being. I was talking in a context.
Okay. I don't mind. Okay.
No, it's okay. Let me explain. I explained because there is sometimes, like I give an example. One of the big sheikh, Abdul Qadir Jilani, or a sheikh of his time. So on the time, his son was going with him and going inside the mosque, and he saw everybody sleeping, and he took his son to make tahajjud. And then he went to the mosque and he said that, how come everybody is sleeping? This is a tahajjud time. What they are doing? So Abu Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah, probably, I don't remember exact name, he said his son, better you go and sleep and you don't need to say your tahajjud, because tahajjud পড়তে এসে তোমার যদি এই অহংকার হয় যে তারা তাহাজ্জুদ পড়তেছে না, তুমি তাদের থেকে ভালো হয়ে গেছো, তাহলে তোমার এই তাহাজ্জুদ পড়ার দরকার নেই। So I told in a way যে sometimes একটু দিনের লাইনে আগে বাড়লে বা একটু ইসলামিক প্র্যাকটিস শুরু করলে আমরা অন্যদেরকে একটু ছোট মনে শুরু করি। যেমন যারা নামাজ পড়ে, তারা যারা নামাজ পড়ে না তাদেরকে একটু নিচে দেখা শুরু করে, যাদের দাঁড়িয়ে আছে তারা দাঁড়িয়ে নাই তাদেরকে একটু মনে করে এরা একটু পিছিয়ে আছে। That's what I meant, that don't undermine anybody based on what you see. Just try to imagine যে এর মনের মধ্যে ঈমান আছে, so this man is very chosen person by Allah. But on the human being,
coming into Iman, you have said read Quran, or you have said if you have Iman, then read Quran. What is correct?
Okay, I didn't say read. I said learn. The word that Sahaba radiallahu anhum said that summa ta'allamtal iman, summa ta'allamtal Quran. We learned iman before we learned Quran.
I am trying to understand. This can be otherwise, right? If you learn Quran, maybe you have iman, or if you have iman, then you of course go to learn Quran. This has otherwise, right?
No problem. I mean, you can interpret in this way. There is no disagreement. I mean, my one was a metaphor that Sahaba wanted to use to explain যে আমরা কোরআন শেখার আগে ঈমান শিখছি, তার মানে কোরআনের যে আয়াতটা আসছে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে ওটা মানা শুরু করছি। এবং উদাহরণটা এরকম আসছে যে যেদিনকে মদ না খাওয়ার আয়াত নাজিল হয়েছে, ওই দিনকে এই পরিমাণ মদের চাড়ি ভাঙা হয়েছে মদিনাতে যে মদের বন্যা বয়ে গেছে, যেরকম রাস্তা দিয়ে মদের নদীর মতন মদ যাচ্ছিল। এখন আজকে মুসলমানরা কোরআন শরীফ পড়ে, মদ হারাম জানে, এটা জানার পরে বাই বান মুসলমান 40 ইয়ার্স মুসলমান, তারপরে গিয়ে বন্ধুর সাথে 2 পেগ মদ খেয়ে নিচ্ছে। তাহলে এই যে কোরআন সে পড়লো, মানে জানলো, শিখলো, কিন্তু মদ থেকে দূরে থাকতে পারলো না। আর ওই যে সাহাবীরা যারা মদের আয়াত নাজিল হয়েছে কলকি ভরা, অনেকে বলছে যে ঠিক আছে স্টকে যে মদটা আছে ওইটা খেয়ে শেষ করো, তারা বলছে যেই মুহূর্তে কোরআনের আয়াত নাজিল হয়েছে বলাতেও যদি নিয়ে থাকে ওটাও কুলি করে ফেলে দেবো, আমি ওটুকু নেবো না। এটাকে বলছে যে ঈমান আগে শেখো, তারপরে কোরআন শেখো, দেন মানা সহজ হয়ে যাবে।
This is vice versa, right?
Okay.
Okay. And I am very happy to learn from you যে হে আল্লাহ তুমি আমার জন্য সহজ করে দাও এই দোয়া। Thank you, huh? Thank you for whole session.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sohel, তোমার কাছে যাওয়ার আগে I think Tawhid বা somebody has
Thank you very much. Yeah, next question, I believe Mr. Rashad Khan, he has a question. Mr. Rashad, please go ahead.
মোয়াজ্জেম ভাই কিছু ক্লারিফাই করতে চাইছিলেন না কি বলতে
বলো।
তাহলে আপনি কিছু ক্লারিফাই করতে চাইছিলেন মোয়াজ্জেম ভাই?
ও আচ্ছা, ওই সাজু অস্টিন থেকে ও একটা কমেন্ট করেছে যে ওই not to watch TV may not be a good idea. আমি টিভি ওয়াচ না করার কথা বলি না, I didn't discourage, but আমি বলছি যে without watching TV even I spent 26 years but life is going. আমি একটা এক্সাম্পল দেওয়ার জন্য যে you can find your interest and pleasure on different things is different on the test, but I didn't say any verdict on TV দেখা উচিত কি উচিত না. If somebody can have balanced mechanism of watching TV is okay, but এখন অনেক সোশ্যাল রিসার্চে বলতেছে যে যারা টেলিভিশনে 20-25 hours a week মিনিমাম স্পেন্ড করে তাদেরও 80% of the time they spend on the TV is not being very productive and not being very useful in their life. So সেই পয়েন্ট অফ ভিউতে I wanted to say যে টেলিভিশন না দেখার কারণে অনেকে অ্যাগ্রেসিভলি আমাকে অ্যাটাক করতো, আমার বাসায় এসে অ্যাটাক করতো যে আমরা আউটডেটেড হয়ে যাচ্ছি, আমরা দুনিয়া থেকে পিছিয়ে চলে আসতেছি, and I wanted to prove যে টেলিভিশন না দেখেও আমি একটা ইমার্জেন্সি স্টেশনে চাকরি করি, আমার lot of 24 hours alert থাকতে হয়, বাট টেলিভিশন না দেখেও চলে গেছে জীবন। তার মানে এই না যে আমি বলছি না টেলিভিশন দেখো না, but I'm saying without how many things you can live or without how many conventional funfare you can also have fun in your life. হ্যাঁ বলো অর্শাদ, সরি জাস্ট ওর ওই কমেন্টের উপর আমি বললাম যে আমাকে মিসআন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড না করে, I didn't tell against. Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Rashad, please go ahead.
Thank you Moazzem bhai. Thank you for taking this time for all of us. I think we all benefited. Our question আসলে Sohel, I didn't know he was going to ask out of his 3 questions, one of them from mine, which I had many years ago, and it's not so much of a question, it was more of a query. যেটা আমি ওর সাথে অনেক আগে কথা বলেছিলাম, জানতে চাইছিলাম যে যখন কোরআনে আল্লাহ বেহেশতের কথা বলতেছিলেন, in many references he's saying, you know, tajri min tahtiha al-anhar, যে বেহেশতের ডেসক্রিপশন দিলেই তার নিচে এই যে নদী বা পানি প্রবাহিত, এই কথাটা উনি বারবার এনেছেন। I just wanted to know its significance কি ছিল যে আল্লাহ, why he felt that had to be described, that বেহেশতের সাথে নদী বা পানি প্রবাহিত হয়. It was just an inquiry of mine.
আমি যদি আমাকে বলো I'll give my explanation, but again don't take it as a reference. You should take for authentic references. তখনকার দিনে যেমন নামাজের ব্যাপারে বলছে যে যদি কেউ একজনের সাথে পড়ে 2 জনের নেকি পাবে, 2 জনের সাথে পড়লে 3 জনের নেকি পাবে, 3 জনের সাথে পড়লে দ্বিগুণ, যদি 5 জনের সাথে পড়ে 27 গুণ নেকি মসজিদে গেলে। তো এই 27 তারপরে 70 100 এগুলো ওলামা ইকরামরা বলে যে আল্লাহ সুবহানাহু ওয়া তাআলা জান্নাতে he will give countless things। তাহলে 27 50 90 এগুলো বলার কি দরকার? So these were examples in Arabic grammar or in Arabic history. এই লার্জ নাম্বার বা একটু বড় নাম্বার বলা মানেই হচ্ছে অগণিত। আমরা যখন বলি না কোটি কোটি, তো এই আরবরা তো কোটি কোটি হিসাব করতে পারে না, লাখ লাখ হিসাব করতে পারে না, ওই জন্য ডিফারেন্ট এক্সাম্পল দেওয়া হয়েছে, কিন্তু আল্লাহর দেওয়ার ব্যাপারে কোনো সীমা নাই। নাও ইফ ইউ কাম টু 3 থিংস, যেইটা আরব সময় চমৎকার ছিল এবং এখনো যদি দেখো, পানি হচ্ছে অলওয়েজ অ্যান ইটারনাল মোস্ট নিডেড থিংস, এবং যখন তৃষ্ণা লাগে তুমি কোক না খেয়ে এক গ্লাস একটা ঠান্ডা পানি খেয়ে দেবে কেমন লাগে। So pani has been always a wonderful thing, এবং পানি আমাদেরকে ক্লিন করে, all lots sort of benefit things. দুধের কথা এই জন্য বলছে যে হুজুর সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামের 5টা জিনিস খুব প্রিয় ছিল, এবং পৃথিবীতে যদি নিউট্রিশাস এবং মোস্ট ব্যালেন্সড ডায়েট যদি কিছু থাকে, I think you will ask any nutritionist and dietitian, the milk is one of them. Third, যদি শহদের কথা বলো, যে honey is one of the thing in the world যেটা তুমি যদি 20 বছরও রেখে দাও এটা পচে না, যদি if it is accurate এবং পিওর হানি হয়ে থাকে। এটার মধ্যে শেফার কথা বলা হয়েছে, all the benefits. তো এই 3টা জিনিস আমার কাছে মনে হয়েছে at that time in the Arab world was most, একটা হচ্ছে শেফার জন্য for disease, আর 2টা হচ্ছে normal living being or as a pleasant drink and was aware. এই আজকেরকার জমানায় যদি করোনা আসলে তো I think somebody might be funny whether Coca-Cola or fizzy drinks might come as a reference. I don't know. People I don't know question অনেক করে। So আমার কাছে মনে হয়েছে যে এই 3টা আল্লাহ পাক particularly mention করছেন just an example যে at that time these were the most precious through drinks that people would be looked for or most beneficial for the year. সেটাই আল্লাহ বলছে যে 1 কেজি মধু আনতে তোমাদের 12,000 কিলোমিটার ট্রাভেল করতে হয় একটা মোমো শিখে, ওটা হান্ট করতে তোমাদের ওটা হান্ট করতে হয়, আমি তো নহর বয় দেবো তোমার জন্য, তুমি কি চাও? সো আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে these are examples of plentiness, bountiness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. Otherwise জান্নাতে কি থাকবে, এই তিনটা নহর তো কিছুই না। there will be things, যেমন একটা আঙ্গুরের কথা বলছে, এখন why আঙ্গুর? আঙ্গুরের কথা তো ছোট্ট ছোট আঙ্গুর খায়। আল্লাহ বলছেন যে আমি আঙ্গুর দিব যেটা মানুষের মাথার মতন হবে, 70টা রং হবে, 70টা কালার হবে, 70টা ঘ্রাণ হবে, আর কি বলে মাখনের মতো নরম হবে, আর তুমি খাইতে চাইবা তোমার মুখের কাছে এসে ঢুকে মুখের মধ্যে ঢুকে যাবে, খাবা কোনো পায়খানা হবে না, হজম করবা, একটা ঢেকুর উঠবা, ওই ঢেকুরটাও আবার এরকম হবে যে ওটার গন্ধটা মিষ্টি আম্বরের মতন জান্নাতীরা টের পাবে। এখন all these things is just to tell human being যে দুনিয়াতে ঘুষ সুদ খেয়ে একটা ছোট্ট আঙ্গুর 1 কেজি কিনতে গিয়ে সুদ খাওয়া দরকার নাই, ঘুষ খাওয়া দরকার নাই, এরকম জিনিস আমি তোমাদের রেখে দিছি। আমার কাছে এগুলো সব রূপক, এক্সাম্পল, মেটাফোর মনে হয়েছে যে আল্লাহ ইজ জাস্ট টেলিং দ্যাট যে বাউন্টি তোমাকে আমি দিব সেটার তুলনায় দুনিয়াতে কয়েকদিনের জন্য আঙ্গুর খাওয়ার জন্য লাফালাফি করো না। Just my experience.
Thank you.
আমার কাছে similar conclusion মনে হয়েছিল, and I'm glad that you explained the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, Shad. The next question comes from Nazrul Bhai from Houston. Nazrul Bhai, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum to everybody. Moazzem, thank you very much for this. This is excellent. I know it's very late, but we appreciate your time, and hopefully there'll be more sessions like this in the future. I've got a comment and question. Actually, I mean, we always say that Muslims are the ones that are favored. Now, one thing we need to clarify that Muslim means submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the previous nations that actually believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as they were told through their prophets, they're also Muslims. A lot of people don't understand that, at least in my view, because they always say, how come Muslims, what happens to the people that came before us? So that's one distinction we should make, that Muslim means that not only the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also the previous nations that followed the rightly guided ones that Allah Ta'ala actually gave to their prophets. You know, that's one comment. The question is, we don't have a choice as to where we get born, right? I mean, as we are born Muslim, it's obviously easy to follow the true religion, which is Islam. But what happens to actually people that are born in non-Muslim families? How would they be judged? Do they get inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them chances during their lifetime to actually accept him to be the only God or not? I don't have a good answer. Hopefully you can actually explain as to what you think or what the Mufassirin think regarding this topic.
Thank you, Nazrul Bhai. I'll just, Moazzem Bhai, just before you answer, we also have one more question in the chat session. So after this Nazrul Bhai's one, we'll go to a chat question. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nazrul Bhai. Again, I want to caution everybody that the explanation that I'm giving should not be taken as references, because I also have similar questions 10 years back, maybe 15 years back. I had these similar questions. I went to different people gave different explanations. So I'm telling you what I have been able to concise and bring together. Now, the young two, a boy and a girl who came, one is 27, one is 23 or something, who came to my house. They are two Chinese boy and a girl. So they asked the same question, that you were born in a Muslim family. So did you have ever doubt? And when I am having a doubt, what is my judgment of God or Allah on me? My answer to them was that this puts Muslim into a very difficult situation, because Allah is saying in the Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, kuntum khayri ummat ukhrijat linnas. I told that literally the word is ukhrijat, means you have been sent to the world for a mission, that is you will invite people towards Islam. Now this is the reason, also the benefit has been said, that Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will enter into the Jannah before all other Ummah because of this preaching. Whereas the other Ummah, they did not have any permission to give dawah. Rather, the prophets were limited by their qawm, by their nation or tribes or their city or the locality. When somebody came to a prophet to ask that give me a message, he said, I am not the prophet of your nation, go to that nation and prophet is there, you ask them. So this is the vast implication of us being Muslim. So first, our responsibility was, if we are 1 billion Muslim, and if we all are practicing Muslim, if we are of Da'i Allah, inviting towards people, so one Muslim inviting 5 non-Muslim in their lifetime could reach the Islam to the furthest corner of the world. We did not do that. Now let's say if we didn't do that, for that, will that a non-Muslim be punished? No. Allah said in the Quran that of whom I want to give hidayat, and whom Allah will give hidayat, who will have the search for truth in their heart. Think about Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was not a Muslim before, but he has been asking his father the question that who feeds you? Who created you? And they all said that the sun is the creator and the God. Then he said sun sets. How come the God sets? Then somebody said moon. Then somebody said the mountain. So he went on asking question one after another until he was looking for the truth. The same way, Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Rasulullah Sallallahu Abdullah, brother of Rasulullah Sallallahu, there was no prophet, there was no Islam at that time. Then who are they? They are called Hunafa. So Hunafa means they were the pure people with a pure heart looking for truth. And these people will be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah has promised in the Quran, he who asks questions, and that's why Allah is repeatedly telling that don't you see the signs around you? Don't you see around you that I have created the sky without any pillar? How it is being hanging? Don't you see I have created you out of nutfa, a sperm, and I have created you in the 3 layers of the darkness in the abdomen, in the uterus, within the sac, and where you don't see anything in the light, I create things in the dark. Don't you see these things? So Allah is telling all these stories of his outstanding creativity and innovation in the creativeness for people to think. Now, many people you will see non-Muslims, even without understanding Arabic, they just read the Quran. And after September 11, I say one thing was bad for the Muslims, that we are suffering a lot in terms of the oppression. But on the other hand, so many people have been interested, excited, and all the Muslims that I have given Shahada so far, I did not go and convince them. They were half convinced. They came to me for some final query, had a conversation of 1 hour, 2 hours, and they accepted Islam. I said, how did you know about it? He said, oh, I have read it in the Quran. So they have a Quran translation, they read it, and then they come with some query that they cannot explain. So to me, anybody who is born in a non-Muslim family, even if he is looking for the truth and he has a clean heart to look for it, he is ready to accept the truth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before their death will give them the light of Islam. I will give you 2 evidence where from I get it. One is if you know Ahl al-Kahf, the sleeper's cave, one of the surah in Quran, the 36 or 38 number surah. So you see that these people, they wanted to protect their iman because the ruler was a tyrant ruler. So they went in the cave and Allah made them sleep, and they slept for 309 years. This is nothing of interpretation. This is direct verses of Quran. But in these 309 years, Allah changed the time and perspective for them. And when there was sunlight coming in the cave with a small hole, and if you come to Jordan, I will show you these places, alhamdulillah, the things are here. So when they were coming, they were turning their body, although they were in sleep. So it says in the Quran that Allah will guide you in the middle of your sleep, even to turn your body when Allah wants to help you, Allah on your side. And Allah is on those who wants to change their life. So if somebody is search of truth and somebody is looking for it, inshallah aziz, today or tomorrow, he will get Islam. Whether he's born as a Muslim family, he's a Muslim family. And the Chinese who came to me, I was asking them, I hear about the Uyghur Muslim. I hear about so many Muslims. He said, you hear the truth. Up to 18 years, we cannot go to the mosque. If we want to take a pension, we have to forgive that we are Muslim. And if we are forgiving our Muslim, then we are being burnt and not Muslim. All this tragedy is going on in China. I said, then how come you want to be a Muslim? They tell miracle stories. I will tell you on another day that how miraculously these people are guided to come to Islam. And we being born into Islam, we are not seeing the beauty and the wonderful thing in Islam. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was so sad, when Abu Talib could not accept Islam, when Rasulullah said, whisper on my ear, La ilaha illallah, I will take you to Jannah, recommending you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He could not because Allah didn't want to give him. On the other hand, the Wahashi who killed Hamza radiallahu anhu and Hinda who planned the killing, both of them accepted Islam also. Allah, Rasulullah didn't want them. So when Allah will like, if the heart is clean and looking for, inshallah aziz, they will get the hidayat and nur. And if not even, Allah will have a justice for them, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. One question came on the chat session, which is hypothetical situation. I have $1,000 available for donation, and I live in US. What should I do? And I have below scenarios. One, I see homeless people in the streets who are non-Muslims in my community. They do not have anything to eat, no work, no food. Number two, in Bangladesh there, or India or Pakistan or somewhere else, there are people who needs them, same situation. And number three, there are organizations in US who can use them.
Thank you very much. First, I will say something that Tawheed may not like. Is it Tawheed Bhai or Tawheed, our senior?
No, junior.
Okay, so he may not like. The first thing is when I asked him Mufti Saab that if I do this and if this happens, then what will be the fatwa? He said, let it happen, then you come to me, I will give you the fatwa. So first thing, the Islamic verdict doesn't have on the ifs. It's always on the real situation. If he really have $1,000, he can call me and I can tell him what to do. But just for the sake of the audience, I will say in this three different scenario, Islam does not stop you in doing any of these three. Which means if you are living in US, you have a moral obligation to do for the place that you are there. You are paying tax, they are taking care of you. So, and your next generation will live in America. So I personally, I'm not of those group who sell all the money to Bangladesh now. Your next generation, your future, your career, your children, they will live in America. So invest in America, build the institutions there, make Islamic environment there, and doing charity to non-Muslims is not forbidden. Rather, this is encouraged. Otherwise, how they will come to Islam? If you don't help them, if you don't give them food, then how they will know the beauty that Islam is a peaceful religion for the mankind. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is rahmatul lil alameen, not rahmatul lil muslimin. He's not the prophet of the Muslims. He's prophet of the mankind. So giving, if you want to give it to the non-Muslims, all people around you, you are most welcome. You should do it. If you want to send it to Bangladesh, there are poor people, that's also true. If they are blood relations, if you have blood relations in Bangladesh who has a right on you, then I will suggest you send it. If not, I will tell you Bangladesh is one of the fastest growing economy, and Bangladesh has probably more rich people, billionaires, growing billionaires than in US. So in that case, if you have poor people, you know that they are needy, they're starving, and they are your neighbors, I personally will advise you, without having any accountability in the day of judgment, you should help the people around your neighbor. But if you have your cousin, first cousin, if you have your brothers and sisters, if you have blood relations, Bangladesh suffering, then send the money to them. To give money to the US and the organization, well, you are the US citizens, I'm a poor Bangladeshi, how can I know the norms and regulations and systems, how they operate, how they manage the money, how they give? If they have a Sharia board, if they manage the money, it is a zakat money, of course you should check where you are giving. If it is simple charity, I personally feel going to people and being humble and being polite and give to them in your own hands is better than give it to the organizations where later on you're not sure how it is being used.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moazzem. Are there any other questions? I do not see that any other questions on one-on-one. If no one has any other question,
there is a kid's question coming.
There is one, okay. So do you want me to read it to you or you can read it?
I can read. The kids are asking the following question. One, is it good enough if we only read the translation of Quran every day? Do we really need to recite the Quran every day? Well, the answer I will give in this way, that Quran, if you can consider as a love letter. When you get a letter from somebody that you like, what do? You read it once, twice, thrice, 4, 10 times, you get bored of it, you keep it in the almirah. After 1 month, you bring it out and see it. I wrote a letter before my marriage, when the marriage was fixed. I wrote a letter to my wife. It's 27 years, she put it in the almirah, sometimes she brings it and shows it to me, she enjoys it so much. If that is a pleasure of reading a letter that wrote between a man and woman, full of sins, imagine a letter that Allah has written to you for your lifetime's guide. And Allah is repeatedly telling, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O iman wala, O believers, who does not want to read this if somebody understands the love and the connection and feelings? If you say, is it enough to read translation? Two different perspectives. For your following Islam, for understanding Quran, of course you have to read the translation, otherwise how you understand, how you know what to do. But inside Salah, as it is important to recite in the language, now, if you want to get the nur and barakat of Quran, I know many people will challenge and start being absolutely upset or excited about it. if you want to understand the feelings, like when I went to India and Pakistan, I went to learn from the scholars who speak Urdu. So I could not speak Urdu, and they were saying, Moazzem, I can't you translate what we are telling? But when I'm saying a story that happened from Quran and my tears in my eyes, I can't translate the tears into Bangla. But if you had understood my language, you would understand directly what I'm telling. And wallahi, I tried and prayed, and within a couple of days, I learned Urdu. And then when they were telling, oh my gosh, it was touching the core of my heart. So when you understand Quran, trust me, my children, they understand Quran, they understand Arabic, I don't. So when they recite, and my son, I see him crying in the Quran because he's reciting, he understands the meaning, and I'm wondering at that time in the salah that why he's crying and why he's laughing. How nonsense and stupid and unfortunate father I am. So if you read the Quran in that language that Allah has spoken to Prophet ﷺ, you will feel a different nur, you will feel a different feelings, and that cannot be described and that cannot be explained in logic. It's only your feelings that will tell. The way when you get married to an American woman, you don't force her to learn a Bangla, rather you sacrifice yourself to learn English to impress your girlfriend or wife that how much you love that you learn this language. So what is the problem in learning Arabic and reading the Arabic in the language that Allah has revealed? Although I'm not saying that it's mandatory that you have to read. Of course, for understanding and practicing, you should read it in our language, but it's always good to learn Arabic, read in Arabic, and recite. And I can tell you my own experiences. It's a divine feelings. It's a wonderful. Ask your kids to push them to read in substance. Inshallah, Aziz, you will see sometime they will get so much pleasure that they will continue to read and they will not love anything else other than reciting Quran. This is the miracle of Quran. Test it, you will see in your life, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Moazzem Hossain. I do not see any other question. Nazrul, do you have a question? Please go ahead. If you have any question, I see a raised hand.
Sorry, Sohail. There is a question saying that they want the kids want the reference. Well, there is no reference that every day it should be recited, but there is a saying of Hadith. I can send the reference that at least you should finish it in once in your lifetime. Once in 3 days. If not in once in a month. If not at least in one time in the year. But for daily, there is a saying of Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you will get different barakat, you will be protected from bad things, you will be protected from evil things if you recite Quran every day. So that reference I can send, but I don't know if there is a reference directly Allah asking us to recite every day. If I get it, I will send it, but I have references from Hadith.
So I think that Nazrul had the last question, and then after that we'll conclude, and what we'll do is stop the recording. And then we can also do the hangout. I'll just stop the recording. So please go ahead. Let it be the last question.
No, I don't have the question. Sorry, I just forgot to take the hands signal, so thank you.
Okay. So with that, Dr. Moazzem Hossain, thank you very much for your time. I know many people, not only from US, but also Canada and Europe and Bangladesh, and some people are joining. So especially who are from the other side of the Atlantic, it could be late night. So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording. Thank you all the guests, the audiences for your participation. Thank you to our guest speaker for tonight. We do appreciate your humble presence in this forum. And thank you very much again. Assalamu alaikum. We are going to pause the recording, but let's hang out again.
Before you pause the recording, Sohail, I wanted to announce in public that if there is any mistake, or in my whole discussion saying, if any of you find anything mistake, please correct me or send me a message, or in the next call correct me so that others can also be corrected, because we all are full of mistakes. Our knowledge is limited. So I wanted to keep on recording that if there is any mistake, it's mine, it's my lack of knowledge. But if anybody corrects me, that will be great pleasure, and Allah will give you the best of the return, inshallah. Aziz.
Thank you very much. That reminds me of Socrates, which says, you start with, I know nothing. And this is a good start, even though you know so much. It says, I know nothing. That's a good starting point. Thank you very much again. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah bless you for taking the time to speak with us, share your knowledge, and give us guidance in many ways. Whatever you could, we understood. Many people hopefully benefited. This will be also shared in social media. This has been recorded. So we'll share it for many others to watch. And thank you again. I will stop the recording, but we're not going away. You can hang out and talk and Adda and all those. Thank you.